A little girl whispered, "That's my brother." And the millionaire discovered a heartbreaking truth. "Daddy, look! That's my brother!" Lily's voice rang out, clear and certain, cutting through the sound of waves crashing along the shore. Nathan Brooks froze mid-step, tightening his grip on her tiny hand. The sea breeze caught her curls, making them dance like golden ribbons in the sunlight. "What did you say, Lily?" he asked softly, crouching to meet her eyes. She pointed toward a lonely driftwood log on the sand. "That boy over there. He looks like me and like you." Nathan followed her finger. A frail boy no older than 6 sat huddled on the log, clutching a battered wooden box to his chest. His clothes were torn and dirty, his shoes little more than scraps held together by string. But it wasn't the boy's condition that made Nathan's stomach clench. It was his eyes. Too teen. Ocean blue, the same piercing shade as Lily's, the same shade Nathan saw in the mirror every morning. "Sweetheart, you don't have a brother," he said gently. "Yes, I do." Lily's voice was firm, her little brow furrowed. "I know it. That's my brother. I feel it." Nathan's breath hitched. He wanted to dismiss it as a child's wild imagination, but something in his gut kept him still. The boy's jawline, the curve of his cheek, they felt disturbingly familiar. The boy looked up then, sensing their gaze. His expression was guarded, but his eyes didn't waver. For a moment, the world seemed to narrow to just those blue eyes staring back. "Stay here," Nathan whispered to Lily, but she clutched his hand tighter. "No, Daddy, I want to meet him too." Reluctantly, Nathan nodded. Together they walked across the sand, each step feeling heavier than the last. As they approached, the boy stiffened, his small fingers gripping the wooden box like it was his only lifeline. Nathan crouched a few feet away, keeping his tone calm. "Hey there, what's your name?" The boy hesitated, glancing at Lily before whispering, "Eli." "Eli," Nathan repeated softly. "That's a good name." Eli clutched the box tighter but said nothing. "Where's your mom, Eli?" Nathan asked gently. "She's sick," the boy murmured. Nathan felt Lily's hand squeeze his. She crouched in front of Eli, her sundress billowing slightly in the wind. "Hi," she said brightly. "I like your eyes. They're just like mine." For the first time, Eli blinked. A small, cautious smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Nathan's chest tightened. Something deep inside told him his life had just shifted. Forever. Nathan couldn't tear his gaze away from the boy. The resemblance gnawed at him, stirring memories he thought he'd buried years ago. "Eli," Nathan said softly, crouching lower, "that's a strong name. How old are you?" "5," Eli whispered, his voice barely carried over the sound of the waves. Nathan's heart pounded. Lily was 5 too. "Where's your dad, Eli?" he asked carefully, though his throat tightened as he said the words. The boy's small hands clenched around the wooden box. "Mama said he left before I was born." Nathan felt dizzy, like the sand beneath his feet was shifting. His mind raced, flashing back to a time 6 years ago, a brief relationship with a woman named Grace Taylor. She'd worked at his company for a short time. Blonde hair, shy smile, eyes the color of the sea. Could it be? Foe. He forced himself to focus. "Are you hungry?" he asked, reaching into his canvas bag. Lily had insisted on packing snacks that morning. He pulled out a sandwich, unwrapped it, and held it out. "Here, it's fresh." Eli hesitated, then took the food with cautious hands. "Thank you," he murmured. Nathan watched him eat, small, delicate bites, like a child afraid someone might snatch it away. He had seen that look before, long ago, in the mirror as a boy growing up in a foster home. Beside him, Lily sat cross-legged on the sand and smiled at Eli. "Want to see my seashells?" she asked, opening her little tote bag. Eli glanced at her, his guarded expression softening just slightly. Nathan exhaled slowly. Something about the boy's mannerisms, the way he held himself. There was no mistaking it. This wasn't coincidence. "Eli," Nathan said quietly, "where do you and your mom live?" The boy pointed toward a weathered pier in the distance. "In the house with the broken windows." Nathan's stomach nodded. That place had been empty for years, or so he thought. As Eli and Lily exchanged smiles over seashells, Nathan pulled out his phone. His hands trembled as he dialed his assistant. Ava, he said, his voice tight, I need you to find everything you can about Grace Taylor. She worked at Brooks Marine 6 years ago. Start with HR records and Ava. Don't tell anyone. Yes, Mr. Brooks, she replied briskly. Nathan hung up, staring at the two children. Lily had no idea how her innocent words had cracked open a door Nathan never thought he'd face again. But as he watched Eli clutch his wooden box like it held his whole world, one thought burned through him. What if he really is my son? Nathan couldn't sleep that night. Long after Lily had drifted off beside him, her small hand curled into his shirt, he sat in the dark, staring at the glow of his phone screen. Grace Taylor. The name felt like a ghost whispering in the back of his mind. 6 years ago, she'd been a receptionist at Brooks Marine. Quiet. Always staying late to finish paperwork. Nathan remembered her soft laugh when he'd offered to walk her to the bus stop one rainy evening. He remembered how her eyes crinkled when she smiled, like tiny waves rippling across a calm ocean. But he also remembered how things ended. A misunderstanding with a client file, tense words exchanged in his office, and then her sudden resignation. At the time, he hadn't thought much of it. He was consumed with building his company, drowning in board meetings and expansion plans. Grace had simply vanished. But now, as he thought of Eli's ocean blue eyes, Nathan's gut twisted. The next morning, he dressed Lily in her favorite sundress and told her they were going on an adventure. Eli had been sitting on the same log when they arrived at the beach. His wooden box sat in his lap, his small hands tracing its edges absent-mindedly. Eli, Nathan said softly, kneeling in the sand. Would you like to come with us? Just for a little while. We can get you something to eat, and then I'll take you back to your mom. Eli hesitated. His eyes darted from Nathan to Lily, then back again. You can bring your box, Lily added brightly. And you can sit by me in the car. For a long moment, the boy didn't move. Then, slowly, he nodded. Nathan stood, extending a hand. Eli didn't take it but followed quietly, clutching his box to his chest. The drive was silent. Nathan's heart pounded as he watched the boy in the rearview mirror. So small. So still. When they arrived at the seaside cottage Nathan had rented for the summer, Lily ran inside, calling out all the rooms to Eli. This is my room, and this is the kitchen. You have to see the seashells I found yesterday. But Eli lingered at the doorway, his bare toes curling against the wooden floorboards. Come on in, Nathan said gently. You're safe here. The boy took one cautious step, then another. Nathan waited until Lily had disappeared into a room before crouching in front of Eli. Eli, he began carefully, what's your mom's full name? The boy looked down at his box. His small voice trembled. Grace Taylor. Nathan's breath caught. It was her. The narrow street was lined with houses that had seen better days. Cracked paint peeled from the walls, and rust streaked down metal gutters. Nathan parked his car a few blocks away, his chest tightening as he stared at the address Eli had mentioned. Ah, Grace Taylor. Here. After all these years, he took a deep breath, glancing at the back seat. Eli sat quietly beside Lily, still hugging his wooden box. His eyes flicked nervously between Nathan and the window, as if he wanted to disappear into the breeze. Stay with your sister, Nathan said gently. I'll just be a minute. He stepped out and approached the faded green door of the apartment. Each step felt heavier than the last. For a moment, he raised his hand to knock but froze, staring at his reflection in the cracked window pane. Abel. What would he even say? I didn't know. I didn't look for you. I'm sorry. His fist tightened. He knocked. Footsteps shuffled on the other side. A lock clicked, and the door opened just a crack. Grace stood there, her hair tied back in a messy bun. She looked thinner, paler than he remembered, but her eyes, those same ocean blue eyes, still held a quiet strength. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Grace, Nathan said softly. It's me. Her hand gripped the edge of the door tighter. Nathan? Her voice was sharp, guarded. What are you doing here? I needed to see you, he said. To see him. Grace's lips pressed into a thin line. You don't get to just show up here. Please, Nathan said, his voice low. I didn't know, Grace. About Eli. I swear to you. You didn't know because you didn't care to look. Her words struck like a slap. Nathan swallowed hard. You're right. Back then, I was blind. I was too focused on my work to see anything else. I'm not proud of it, but I'm here now. Let me fix this. Let me help. Grace's shoulders sagged slightly, but her eyes were still wary. Help? She repeated bitterly. You think you can sweep in now and make it all better? I don't know, Nathan admitted, but I have to try, for Eli. At the mention of his name, Grace's gaze softened for a brief second before hardening again. I've raised him alone for 6 years. He doesn't need you to confuse his life. I'm not here to confuse him, Nathan said quietly. I want to be a part of his life, Grace. Please, let me prove I can do this right. For a long moment, Grace said nothing. Then her eyes flicked past Nathan's shoulder. Where is he? She asked cautiously. Nathan stepped aside. Eli stood at the edge of the sidewalk, clutching Lily's hand, his little box still pressed to his chest. Eli, Grace whispered, her voice breaking. The boy's head snapped up. Mama. He bolted forward, wrapping his small arms around her waist. Grace knelt down, holding him tight, tears sliding down her cheeks. Over Eli's shoulder, her eyes met Nathan's again. This time, the anger in them was mixed with something else. Pain, fear, and maybe, just maybe, a glimmer of hope. Grace held Eli tightly, as if afraid that if she let go, he might slip away. Nathan stood a few steps back, his hands clenched at his sides, fighting the urge to speak too soon. When she finally pulled away, she cupped Eli's face in her hands. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? Eli shook his head. No, Mama. He gave me food. And Lily, she's nice. Grace's eyes softened at her son's words. But when she turned her gaze to Nathan, they sharpened again. Why did you bring him here? I didn't want him wandering alone, Nathan said carefully. I had to know if it was true. Grace stiffened. You had to know? Her voice cracked. 6 years, Nathan. 6 years I raised him alone. Sick days, empty cupboards, crying at night because I didn't know how we'd make it through the week. And now you have to know? Nathan's chest tightened with guilt. Grace, I swear to you, I didn't know. If I had, you would have what? Sent money? Offered an apology over the phone? No, Nathan said firmly. I would have been there. I should have been there. Grace looked away, her fingers stroking Eli's hair. You don't know that. I do. Nathan's voice softened. And I want to make things right. But first, I need to know for certain. Please, let's do a DNA test, if he's my son. He is your son. Grace's words came out sharp, but her lip trembled. Nathan exhaled shakily. Then let me help you. Help him. Grace shook her head. Eli doesn't need your help. We're fine. Are you? Nathan asked gently. He told me you've been sick. Grace, I can see it. You're exhausted. You shouldn't have to do this alone anymore. For a long moment, Grace said nothing. Her shoulders sagged as if the weight of years pressed down all at once. Even if I agree to a test, she whispered, it doesn't change the fact that you weren't there when we needed you most. I know. Nathan's voice broke. And I'll carry that for the rest of my life. But let me carry something else too. Let me carry part of this now. Grace looked down at Eli, his small hand gripping hers tightly. Would you like to see him again? She asked quietly. Nathan's breath caught. Yes, more than anything. Grace closed her eyes for a moment. Fine. One step at a time. We'll do the test. But this doesn't mean I trust you. Not yet. That's all I ask, Nathan said softly. Eli looked between them, confusion flickering in his blue eyes. Can Daddy come with us, Mama? He asked innocently. Grace flinched. Nathan felt his heart twist painfully. We'll see, sweetheart, Grace murmured, pulling Eli close again. But even as she said it, Nathan saw the faintest crack in her armor. How are you feeling about the story so far? I'd really love to know what you think. Did it touch your heart or maybe remind you of something from your own life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And while you're at it, tell me, where in the world are you listening from? I'd love to see how far this story travels. The envelope felt heavier than any corporate contract Nathan had ever signed. He sat in his office, staring at it under the soft glow of his desk lamp. Outside the window, the ocean waves crashed gently against the pier, but inside his chest was a storm, Modelly, it had been 3 days since he and Grace had visited the clinic with Eli. 3 days of restless nights and constant calls from his assistant Ava, updating him on the company's mounting questions about his absence. None of it mattered. Not now. His hands trembled slightly as he opened the envelope. Probability of paternity, 99.98%. Nathan let out a slow, shaky breath. He had known in his heart the moment he saw Eli's eyes, but seeing it written in black and white hit him like a tidal wave. Eli was his son. His phone buzzed on the desk, flashing Grace's name. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Did you get it?" Grace's voice was steady, but he could hear the tension beneath. "Yes," Nathan said quietly. It's positive." There was a long silence on the other end. "I figured," Grace murmured at last. "He looks too much like you." "Grace," Nathan began, "I want to be part of his life. Not just as someone who sends money or visits on weekends. I want to be there. For both of you." Grace didn't respond immediately. When she spoke again, her voice was tight. "I don't know if I can trust you, Nathan. You've been gone 6 years. Eli doesn't even know what a father is supposed to be." "Then let me show him," Nathan said softly. "Let me show you. I won't ask for forgiveness, not yet. But let me prove I can be better than the man I was." Another long pause. "Eli's been asking about you," Grace admitted finally. "He calls you the man with Lily's smile. He says you're kind." Nathan's throat tightened. "I don't deserve that, but I want to earn it." Grace sighed. "One step at a time, Nathan. That's all I can promise. That's all I'm asking for." As he hung up, Nathan stared again at the test results. He felt a strange mix of fear and hope curling in his chest. This wasn't just about making amends. It was about building something new, from the fragile pieces of the past. Nathan's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. It started with one headline: Marine tycoon Nathan Brooks, secret love child discovered. Then came the flood. News vans parked outside his seaside villa. Paparazzi camped along the boardwalk, long lenses pointed like weapons. His company's board members were calling emergency meetings. Nathan stood in the kitchen, staring at the glowing screen of his phone as headline after headline scrolled past. Billionaire's hidden past uncovered. The boy with ocean eyes. Is he Brooks' heir? Grace Taylor speaks out? Except Grace hadn't spoken to anyone. Not yet. "Daddy, why are there cameras outside?" Lily asked, tugging at his sleeve. Nathan knelt, forcing a smile. "It's nothing you need to worry about, sweetheart." But even as he spoke, he could see the confusion in Eli's wide blue eyes. The boy sat quietly at the table, his little hands clutching his wooden box, his shoulders tight, as though expecting the worst. Grace was standing near the window, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "This is exactly why I didn't want you involved," she said, her voice sharp but low. "I didn't tell them anything," Nathan said. "I swear." "You didn't have to." Grace's eyes flashed with anger. "You live in their world, Nathan, a world of headlines and gossip. I've spent 6 years protecting Eli from this." "I know," Nathan said softly, "and I'm sorry, but I can't undo what's out there. All I can do is stand by you, both of you. Now." Grace turned away, her fingers gripping the curtain tightly. "You should have stayed away." "Do you really want me to?" Nathan asked quietly. She didn't answer. Later that evening, as Lily and Eli built a fort from blankets and pillows in the living room, Nathan made a call to his PR team. "Shut it down," he said firmly. "No statements, no spin. This isn't a scandal. It's my family." "Mr. Brooks," his publicist replied nervously, "this could damage the company's image." "Then maybe the company needs a new image," Nathan snapped. "I don't care about the stocks right now. I care about my son." He ended the call and leaned against the counter, exhaling shakily. From the living room came a burst of laughter. Peeking in, Nathan saw Eli and Lily curled up in their makeshift fort, their faces glowing with joy. Eyed and, for the first time since the headlines broke, he smiled. "I'll protect you," he whispered to himself. "No matter what it takes." The villa was quiet that evening. Too quiet. Grace sat at the edge of the couch, her hands resting tensely in her lap as she watched Eli and Lily stack wooden blocks on the floor. Nathan stood in the kitchen doorway, unsure how to break through the thick wall of silence hanging between them. "Eli seems nervous," Grace said finally, her voice low. "He's not the only one," Nathan admitted. Grace looked at him sharply, but the edges of her gaze softened when she saw the weariness in his eyes. "Let me try something," Nathan said gently. Grace raised an eyebrow as he disappeared into the kitchen. A few minutes later he returned, flour dusting his sleeves and a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Eli," Nathan called softly, crouching to the boy's level. "How would you feel about making pizza with me?" Eli blinked, surprised. "Make it?" "From scratch," Nathan said, nodding. "Just us. And Lily, of course. You can choose your own toppings." Lily clapped her hands. "I want pepperoni flowers again." Eli hesitated, glancing at Grace as if asking for permission. She gave him a small nod. "Go on, sweetheart." Slowly, Eli stood and followed Nathan into the kitchen. At first, his movements were timid, tiny hands rolling dough cautiously under Nathan's guidance. But as Lily giggled and smeared flour across her nose, something shifted. Eli's shoulders relaxed, his lips curled into the faintest smile. Nathan watched quietly, his heart aching as he sprinkled cheese over a circle of dough. "Good job, buddy," he said softly. "You're a natural." Eli glanced up at him, blue eyes wide. "Thanks," he murmured. By the time the pizzas were in the oven, the kitchen was a delightful mess. Dough clung to the counters, flour floated in the air like dust motes, and Lily was laughing so hard she could barely speak. Grace leaned against the doorway, watching the scene unfold. For the first time in days, her expression softened, her eyes glistening with something almost like hope. When they sat down to eat, Nathan slid a small red box across the table toward Eli. "What's that?" Eli asked. "Open it," Nathan said with a smile. Inside was a shiny red bicycle, scaled down into a perfect little toy model. "It's a promise," Nathan explained. "Tomorrow, we'll get you the real thing. You and Lily can ride together." Eli's fingers brushed the tiny handlebars. For a moment, his lip trembled. Then, quietly, he whispered, "Okay, Dad." The word hit Nathan like a wave. He swallowed hard, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Prickle. I'll always be here for you, Eli. Always." Grace looked away, blinking back tears. For the first time, Nathan felt like maybe, just maybe, they were starting to become a family. That night, after the children had fallen asleep under a fort of blankets in the living room, Grace found herself standing in the kitchen, watching Nathan carefully wash the dishes. His movements were slow, almost meditative, as if he too was carrying the weight of unspoken thoughts. "You didn't have to buy him that bike," Grace said quietly. Nathan dried his hands and turned to face her. "It's not about the bike. It's about giving him something he's never had before, a reason to smile without fear." Grace crossed her arms over her chest. "You make it sound so simple." "It isn't," Nathan admitted. "I can't erase 6 years of absence. I know that. But I can start now. Start showing him, and you, that I'm here to stay." Grace's eyes softened, but there was still hesitation in her voice. "You're good with him. I see it. But what happens when the media storm flares up again? When the world starts whispering about us?" Nathan stepped closer. "Then let them whisper. I don't care what they think. I care about you. About Eli. About Lily having the brother she's always dreamed of." Grace looked down at her hands, her thumb absently tracing a faint scar on her palm. "I've spent so long building walls to protect Eli, to protect myself. Letting you in, it scares me, Nathan." "I'm scared too," Nathan confessed. "Scared of failing again. Scared you'll never forgive me. But I'd rather spend every day trying to fix this than walk away." Grace closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them again, her expression had shifted, softer but still guarded. "One step at a time," she said quietly. Nathan nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "One step at a time." The next morning, Grace found herself standing at the edge of the park as Nathan jogged alongside Eli, holding the back of his brand-new red bike. Lily ran ahead, laughing, her pigtails bouncing wildly. "Pedal, buddy! You're doing great!" Nathan encouraged. Eli looked nervous but determined. His small legs pumped the pedals until, suddenly, Nathan let go. "You're riding on your own!" Nathan called out. Eli wobbled but managed to keep going. His laughter rang out, high and bright. Grace felt a lump form in her throat. In that moment, she saw something in Eli she hadn't seen before, a lightness, a joy that came from feeling safe. And it terrified her, because she realized how easily Nathan could give Eli everything she never could, and how easily he could take it away if he left again. The golden light of sunset streamed through the windows of the seaside villa. The air smelled faintly of warm bread and ocean salt. Nathan sat on the floor with Lily curled up against his side, while Eli carefully balanced wooden blocks, building a tower that swayed precariously. Grace stood by the doorway, arms crossed, her eyes tracing every small moment, the way Eli laughed softly when Lily cheered for him, the patient smile on Nathan's face as he guided their little hands. She had told herself for years that she didn't need anyone else, that she and Eli were enough. But seeing this, the warmth, the laughter, Grace felt something shift deep in her chest. Later that evening, Nathan stepped out onto the balcony, staring at the horizon where the sky melted into the sea. Grace joined him quietly, her hands wrapped around a steaming mug of tea. "Eli's asleep," she said softly. "He didn't even make it past the first page of his bedtime story." Nathan smiled faintly. "He's had a big day." They stood in silence for a moment, the sound of waves filling the air between them. "You're good with him," Grace admitted finally. "I'm trying," Nathan said. "He deserves the best of me. So do you." Grace looked down, her fingers tightening around the mug. "I've been so afraid, Nathan. Afraid you'd walk in, turn everything upside down, and leave us shattered." "I won't," Nathan said firmly. "I can't promise I won't make mistakes, but I can promise I'll never leave again." Grace turned to face him, her eyes glistening. "Do you really mean that?" Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver necklace, a delicate pendant with 2 names engraved, Eli and Lily. "This isn't about us," he said gently. "It's about them. No matter what happens between you and me, we're a family because of them." Grace's breath caught. Her fingers trembled as she took the necklace, tracing the engraved letters with her thumb. "Maybe," she whispered, her voice cracking, "maybe we could try, slowly, one day at a time." Nathan smiled, relief washing over him like the tide. "That's all I ask." From inside, Lily's voice called sleepily, "Daddy, Mama Grace, where are you?" Grace froze at the sound of her name on Lily's lips. Nathan gently took her hand. "Let's go to them." When they stepped into the living room, Lily and Eli were curled up together under a blanket fort. Eli looked up, his ocean blue eyes blinking sleepily. "Are we a family now?" he asked softly. Nathan knelt beside him, his hand brushing Eli's hair. "Yes, buddy, we're a family. Forever." Grace sat down next to them, her heart pounding, as Eli rested his head in her lap. For the first time in years, she felt safe enough to believe in a future beyond survival. That night, as the children drifted to sleep, Nathan and Grace sat side by side on the porch swing, holding hands in the cool sea breeze. The past had hurt them both, but here in this fragile, beautiful present, they had found something worth fighting for: a home, a family, a second chance. If this story moved you, reminded you that healing is real, or renewed your belief in second chances, we invite you to subscribe to Healing Stories. Here, we share real-life journeys of strength, love, and hope. Stories that speak straight to the soul. Thank you for being here. And always remember, no matter how far you fall, there's always a way back to the light. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let us know.